So we're going to talk about common healthcare scams, and we're going to talk about, first of all, just giving a basic overview of what the S&P is and what we do, followed by the most common healthcare scams that we've seen affecting seniors over the last couple of years. Then we're going to talk about preventing, detecting, and reporting those scams, and then followed by opening up to some questions and some answers. Now, we'll say it's a big group. I usually let people ask questions in the middle, and I'll allow that if you guys want to have a question or have a comment about the things that we're talking about as we talk about them. But definitely, we're going to have some time at the end to ask some questions as well. All righty? So first of all, the Senior Medicare Patrol. The mission of the Senior Medicare Patrol is to empower seniors, their family members, as well as their caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare errors, healthcare fraud, and healthcare abuse. And we do that through outreach, meaning we love to go out into the community, attend festivals and events. We're going to be sponsoring the State Fair, the Blueberry Festival out on the Eastern Shore. But we go to a lot of events trying to get information to seniors. But we also have educational programs much like this one. We'll come to events like Triad. We'll go to churches. We'll go to different community groups, different conferences. We'll even come to your cookout if you have enough seniors there and give a presentation if you like. And then we also do some counseling. We have a 1-800 hotline that seniors can call to get assistance in case they've been a victim or think they've been a victim of healthcare errors, healthcare fraud, or healthcare abuse. The program itself is sponsored by the Department of Health and Human Services, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, under what they call the Administration for Community Living. They provide grants to all 50 states in the union. And in Virginia, the grant holder is what we call the Virginia Association of Area Agencies on Aging. So if you guys are familiar with Peninsula Area Agencies on Aging, there are 25 of those around the state, and they have an association. So that association received the grant, and that's who I work for. And then we partner with all of the other area agencies on aging around the state to administer this program. So we have paid staff, not just in our office, but in all of those regions so that seniors can get assistance with healthcare errors, fraud, and abuse. Again, we have a 1-800 hotline. If you guys have an orange bag, the number for that hotline is right on the front of that bag, as well as pretty much on everything that might be in the bag if you guys need assistance. And then also, that bag has a number of resources in it that we love to give out to seniors. So if there's something in there that you want more of, you can just give us a call. We'll ship it to you for free. And so you just let us know, and those things can be in the mail, whether it's 5 of them or 105 of them. We love to give those things away because we want seniors to share the information they receive. And so that being said, that's an overview of the Senior Medicare Patrol. Like I said, we're going to talk about some common healthcare scams, but we're going to have a quiz first. So inside your bag, you'll find a pen, as well as something to write on, a notepad or a note piece of paper. I'm going to ask you to take that out. And as you guys are taking that out, I'm going to give you some rules for the quiz. All right? So first rule is, we're going to take this quiz 2 times. We're going to take it in the beginning, take it at the end as well. It's only 3 questions. I'm going to ask that when you take it the first time that you do not yell out the answers. And I'm going to repeat that. Don't yell out the answers the first time. I was at a group not too long ago, and I told seniors, don't yell out the answers. And then we got to the quiz. A senior yelled out the answer. The other senior started yelling at the senior that yelled out the answer. I thought we were going to fight. So we're not going to be yelling out any answers, and we're not going to be fighting this morning, okay? All righty. So 3 questions. The first question is, when I receive an unsolicited phone call, we're going to have an A, B, C, or D answer. But before I get started with that, when I'm talking about an unsolicited phone call, this is one of the phone calls that you get where just the number pops up on your caller ID. You're not expecting the call. You don't know who it is that's calling. And so the question is when I receive an unsolicited phone call, I should A, answer the call and fully cooperate with the caller. B, answer the call and harass them if it's a scammer. C, answer the call and hang up if it's a scammer. Or D, ignore the call. All right, don't yell it out. Okay, question number 2. If a caller calls and offers me free medical services or free medical devices that they say my insurance company will cover, I should A, gladly accept any free offer and be grateful. B, only accept the offer if I really, really need it. C, accept the offer only after I've done my own personal research. Or D, refuse the offer and consult my provider for anything that I need medically. Okay, and the last question, question number 3, and this is a little bit tricky. If I get a call and the caller ID as well as the caller say that they are from Medicare, I should A, get my Medicare card and be ready to cooperate. B, cooperate only if they have personal information about me already. C, hang up and call back on a trusted Medicare number. Or D, hang up the call. Alrighty, so we're going to revisit these three questions at the end of the presentation. If you guys listen carefully, all of the answers will be in the presentation. So at the end, you'll have no reason to get any of the answers wrong, right? Right, okay. So we're going to talk about the top healthcare scams affecting seniors. And these scams have been the top three for the last couple of years. So we're going to look at what we call government imposter scams, durable medical equipment scams, and then genetic testing scams. Starting with government imposter scams, imposter scams are actually the leading cause or leading reports of fraud that people are experiencing around the state. So the FTC collects reports from seniors, and this is the top reported type of scam. And we've seen this is a scam where people are impersonating the U.S. government. So they're impersonating agencies like Medicare, the Social Security Administration, as well as the IRS. And so we're going to talk about what these each look like. Typically, it starts with a phone call. And so with the Medicare scam, they're calling seniors and asking seniors, did you get your new Medicare card? And so, first of all, Medicare is not giving out new cards. So every senior is going to answer, no, I did not get my new Medicare card. And the scammer will say, well, no problem. We can get you that new Medicare card. All we need to do is verify your Medicare number. And of course, we know that means they want you to give them your Medicare number. We also know that we should not be giving out our Medicare number. They want that Medicare number because they can use that Medicare number either to sell it and get paid for it, or they can pretend to provide you services and bill Medicare, and then Medicare will pay them. So the whole scheme is actually to get money, but they need that information from you to get that. And so, of course, we tell seniors not to give out your Medicare number. When they tell the senior, or when the senior tells them, well, I don't feel comfortable giving you my Medicare number, then they start to tell the senior, well, this is the new card. If you don't get the new card, your old card's not going to work anymore, and you're not going to be able to get your benefits. And so seniors then start to participate or cooperate, give out that information, and then the scammer can take that information, like I said, and either sell it or they can use it and get paid for that. So that's how they imitate Medicare. When it's the Social Security Administration, they're calling seniors and telling seniors that their Social Security number is somehow involved in some type of fraudulent activity, and they need to do some investigations. And so they're asking you for your help to participate. The first thing they say is the first thing we need to do is verify your Social Security number, which of course means that they want you to give them your Social Security number. And when you don't, then they start to threaten you. They tell you things like, well, if you're not going to help us with this investigation, then we think you might also be involved, and we can shut down your benefits. We can shut down your Social Security check. We can make sure that Medicare doesn't work for you anymore. So it's best that you cooperate with us. And so, of course, seniors get afraid and they start to cooperate and participate, giving people their Social Security number, which of course means that people can now go out and open credit cards in their name. They can open bank accounts in their name. They can open mortgages in their name. And so, of course, we don't want seniors to do that. Finally, with the Internal Revenue Service scams, these are scams where the scammers are actually after money. And so we've had reports of seniors getting phone calls from people and saying that they're from the IRS. And when they answer the phone, they're saying, we're so glad we caught up with you today. We've been trying to get you for weeks. There's a tax you haven't paid, or a bill you haven't paid, or some type of fine you haven't paid, and it's due today. And the best way to get us the payment is by gift card. And so they'll stay on the phone with the senior, instruct them where to go to put money on a gift card. Once that money's on the gift card, they ask for the information off the back of the gift card, which allows the scammer to then pull that money off the gift card. The reason they're asking for the gift card is because we know that when you put money on a gift card and you send it off to someone and give them that information, it's almost impossible to trace, which of course makes the money impossible to get back. And so scammers know that, so they ask for a payment like a gift card, but they also might ask for a wire transfer or a money order, knowing again that once that money's gone out through that medium, it's almost impossible to trace and retrieve. And so we ask seniors, we've seen seniors put as much as $7,000 or $8,000 on gift cards at stores and give that information, that money, to the scammers. And of course, those are the types of things we're trying to prevent. So there's the Medicare, the Social Security, and the IRS scams. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how to prevent these scams. The second type of scam that we are going to talk about is what we call durable medical equipment, or DME scams. Now, DME scams or durable medical equipment is any type of piece of a medical equipment that you use more than once. A cane, a wheelchair, a walker, a diabetic testing device. All of those things are what we consider durable medical equipment. Even back, arm, and leg braces would be DME. And so basically what the scammers are trying to do, they're trying to get the seniors to agree to receive or accept some of these free durable medical equipment devices. And so they'll call the senior and they'll claim to work for Medicare or their insurance company. And then they'll say that this medical devices are free to you because you've already paid for them with your premium. And we want to get you stuff that you deserve, stuff that you've already paid for. All we have to do is ask you some questions to see what it is you might need. This is really popular with braces. And so they start to diagnose the senior over the phone. Do you have any arm pains? Do you have any leg pains? How's your back doing? And we all know if you ask anybody over the age of 35 what's wrong, we're going to tell you something, right? And so the seniors will say, well, you know, maybe I should play a little bit of tennis. I got a little bit of tennis elbow. I could probably use one of these elbow braces. The person on the phone says, great. Let us have your Medicare number. We'll get those things out to you. Senior gives them the Medicare number. And we've seen a couple of things happen. Sometimes they just want that number. They'll take that number and the senior never gets anything in the mail. What we've seen happen the most is the senior will get a box in the mail, and inside that box will be the elbow brace that they asked for. However, there'll also be 4 or 5 other braces in there that they did not ask for. What most seniors do is they take out the brace they need, take that box, and put it in the garage or put it in the closet, thinking that maybe one day somebody might use it, we'll have it here. The problem that creates is all of those devices are now paid for. And they start at about $100 to $200 each. So if you have a box of 5 items that cost $200, that's $1,000 that's come out of the Medicare system and has gone to scammers for devices that are being wasted that no one's using. And so seniors think, well, this is kind of innocent, but really that's being stolen from the Medicare system that we all pay into, which is the kind of fraud that Medicare is trying to avoid. And so, of course, we don't want seniors to accept those devices. But again, once they do, they bill Medicare, and Medicare pays the scammer for all the devices that were requested. All right? So that's the durable medical equipment scam. The final type of scam we're going to talk about is what we call the genetic testing scam. And this is a scam that's similar to durable medical equipment. They're saying that this is a test that you can get that is already paid for, your insurance company is going to pay for, and they sell it as a valuable service. They tell folks that the technology is really good now. We can look at your genetic makeup and determine whether or not you have certain markers for specific diseases. If you have a heart disease or a blood disease, if you can find that out, you can warn your children, you can warn your grandchildren to say, hey, I've got a marker for this, I could have passed it down, you want to watch for signs and symptoms so we can catch it early. Well, if that was service that I could do, I would want to provide that to my own kids. And so people get on the phone and hear that and they think, well, great, I want to participate, especially if my insurance company is going to pay for it. So they sell it as valuable. They claim that Medicare or other insurances will pay for it. And what they'll do is they'll send the senior a kit. And inside this little box will be a lot of paperwork to sign, but also be either a tube for you to put your saliva in or do a cheek swab, very non-invasive. Once you do that, you put all that stuff back in the box and you send it off to the lab. The lab processes it, and then they send the bill to Medicare. And on every occasion, Medicare is going to deny that bill. Medicare won't pay for these types of tests unless your doctor prescribes it and that he can prove in your medical charts that it's absolutely medically necessary. Under any other condition, it's not going to be paid for. The problem with these tests is they are very expensive. They can start off at $7,000 or $8,000. We've seen it be up to as much as $12,000. And what happens is, once Medicare denies the claim, the bill then gets sent to the beneficiary. So the beneficiary, like I said, has signed all that paperwork, and one of those documents says that if my insurance company doesn't pay for this, then I'll gladly pay for it. And so once you get in that position, when they send you the bill, because you signed that paperwork, there's nothing anyone else can do about it. Medicare is not going to jump in because they don't pay for it. Law enforcement has no reason to jump in because you signed the paperwork saying that you would pay for the bill if no one else would pay for it. And there's no one else that's going to step in because they're going to believe that you signed that under your right mind. And so that becomes your bill. We saw this particular test start to pop up when we were doing all of the drive-in COVID sites. So remember we used to do drive-in sites to COVID where we'd get either a COVID shot or a COVID test. And what was happening is some people were setting up some of these sites illegitimately at some various kind of obscure places. And they would tell people once they drove up, well, while you're here for your COVID test, do you also want a genetic test? Your insurance company will pay for it. It's non-invasive. We'll just swab your cheek or spit in this tube. And you just sign this paperwork and we'll take care of it. People were going to sites for COVID, and then they would add on this extra service and then drive off thinking that, okay, I'll get this great test. But really what they got stuck with was a bill like 2 weeks later. And so this is the type of, now that they've moved from the drive-in sites, they're doing this on the phone. And sometimes they're even calling doctors saying that the patients want the bill versus, and then going back to the patient saying that the doctor wants you to take this test. And so people get stuck with this test and they also get stuck with the bill. So those are the three most common types of scams: the government imposter scams, the durable medical equipment scams, and the genetic testing scams. We're going to talk about how to prevent, detect, and report each of these. So when we're talking about prevention on the government imposter scams, the first thing we tell seniors is do not answer unsolicited calls. When your phone rings and just the number pops up, don't answer it. Because if it's someone important, if it's your doctor's office, if it's a pharmacy, if it's a good friend, they're going to leave a message. And you can always screen your calls. I have seniors that tell me, well, it's no big deal. I know it's a scammer. I just pick up the phone and I harass them. I have a whistle I blow in their ear. I have an air horn that I might blow into the phone. The problem with that is that actually perpetuates more calls. And so when you think about where these folks are getting your phone number, we hear about all the data breaches that happen, all these big companies that have data breaches where people have gone in and stolen information. These folks are stealing that information because it's valuable, and they start to sell it on the dark web you've heard about, or they're selling it back and forth between other people that they may be affiliated with. But the first thing that happens is when they get a million phone numbers, the first thing they want to figure out is how many of these phone numbers are actually legitimate phone numbers. And the way they tell is by who picks up the phone. So when you pick up the phone, you're verifying that this is a qualified phone number. Now your phone number is more expensive, or more valuable, I should say, and they can sell that number to more people, which perpetuates more phone calls coming in. And so every time you pick up, you're validating that this is a valuable or a qualified number, and the more times you pick up, the more they're thinking, they keep picking up, one day I'm going to get them. And so they're going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. When you don't pick up the phone and it goes to voicemail, it doesn't register as a call that someone has answered. And so every time you answer it, you're answering it and telling them that I'm a qualified person, and they're going to sell your number to more people, but they're also going to keep you on their list and keep calling you back. What we also tell seniors is don't automatically trust your caller ID. They have a technology that's called spoofing. And this is how they make any phone number, they can make their phone number look like any phone number they want. So they could be calling from halfway around the world, and it looks like they're calling from around the corner. I've actually had my own phone number call me one time, and I'm looking at the phone trying to figure out, how am I calling myself? But they use the same area code and then probably the same first 3-digit exchange, so it looks really familiar, and it has you thinking, well, do I know this person? Maybe I know this person. Spoofing. Spoofing, S-P-O-O-F-I-N-G. And so actually, if any of you have ever called that number back, you probably called and said, someone just called me from this number, and they're on the other end saying, well, I was just sitting right here. I didn't call you from this number. And again, it's somebody making that number that they're calling from look like a local number and trying to get you to pick up the telephone. And so we say don't automatically trust your caller ID. A couple of years ago, they actually spoofed the Social Security Administration. And so on the caller ID, it said Social Security Administration, and it had the 800 number. And the Social Security Administration had to send out letters saying that we are not calling you. We're not calling you. So you can't automatically trust your caller ID. But also we tell folks, government agencies are just not going to call. Medicare is not going to call. The IRS is not going to call. Social Security Administration is not going to call. So if any of those folks get on the phone or you answer the phone, they say they're from those places, you can just hang up the phone because you know it's going to be a scam. Yes, ma'am.
If they call you and you know it's spam and you decline, does that register as someone that number?
Great question. So she's asked if you get a call and rather than pick up the phone, you hit decline, then no, it does not register as a pickup. Because that sends them either, depending on how you do it, it could be sending, it just silences the ringing, or it could just send them directly to voicemail. Okay? So government agencies are not going to call you. So if you get a call and they say they're from one of those agencies, you can just hang up the phone. If someone's asking you to pay for something by an obscure method, you can almost guarantee it's a scam. If they're asking by payment by a gift card, you know that's a scam happening. No one is going to require you to pay by a gift card. But we also say be cautious if they're asking for a money order or a wire transfer, because those, again, are payment options that you can't really trace, and it's difficult to get money back if you send it out that way. And then finally, if there's someone on the other end and they're asking you for sensitive information and then start to threaten you if you don't give it to them, then you know you're dealing with a scammer. Any legitimate place is going to allow you an opportunity to provide them information by the most secure method. And so even if you think it's your doctor's office and they're asking for information that's sensitive, it's perfectly legitimate to say, I don't feel comfortable giving that information out over the phone. Do you mind if I bring it by the next time I'm at the office or the next time I'm out running errands? If they want to argue with you or pressure you to do that, then you know you're probably dealing with a scammer. So those are ways we prevent the government imposter scams. When we talk about preventing the durable medical equipment scams, we tell seniors, don't agree to accept any free devices from folks on the telephone. When I was a kid, my mom would send me and my brothers outside and she'd tell us two things: don't talk to strangers and don't take candy from strangers. So now we come full circle and we tell seniors, don't talk to strangers and don't take free medical devices from strangers. I like to say that when you're on the telephone and you answer the phone, it's equivalent to like walking through a parking lot if you're going to the grocery store and someone's stopping you and start to ask you about your medical history. You would no sooner give them the medical history or information that you want to keep to yourself than you should to someone on the phone. And you can see the person in the parking lot. You can't see the person on the phone. So you shouldn't be giving out any personal information to them. And if there's something that you need, a walker or a wheelchair or some device, you want to talk to your doctor. You want to talk to your pharmacist. These are people that are going to know exactly what you need. They're going to know your medical history, what medications you might be on, and they're going to know what devices are going to help you rather than hurt you. When we talk about preventing the genetic testing scams, we always say no to add-on services. If you're going somewhere for a service that's not at your doctor's office, go for what you're going for. And if they want to say, well, while you're here, do you also want to? The answer is going to be no. Because, again, these are folks that don't know your medical history. They don't know what type of medications you might be on. And certainly you're not sure that what they're going to be offering you is either going to be paid by your insurance or is going to be something legitimate for you. And again, see your physician, see your pharmacist if there's a need that you have medically. Also, if you get a kit or something in the mail that you did not order, that you feel like even if it's a medical device, you want to report that. You don't want to just hold on to that, or you don't want to participate unless you know exactly who sent that to you, why they sent it to you. If they say it was sent by your doctor, then you want to connect with your doctor before you participate, just to ensure that it was something they actually sent to you. But also, you want to report it if it's something that no one actually sent to you, that if it's a scammer that may have sent it to you. Because when you report that, especially to some place like the Senior Medicare Patrol, we put all of that information into a national database that allows law enforcement to start to look at patterns. So if they see the same name popping up over and over again, or the same organization popping up more than once, then they can start to trace that back and hopefully find criminals and convict them. And so you don't want to just sit on those things when you get them. You want to report that to make sure someone's looking into what might be happening. Also, again, if you need something, consult your physicians. Consult your pharmacist is really good because they also know what might be going on with you, and they have a plethora of information. You can always walk in and ask them questions. I know the doctor may be a little bit harder to get to them, but those are definitely resources that you want to use. Now, when we talk about detecting some of these scams, you guys are going to be most important because you guys get a lot of information that you may not be looking at. Now, most people will look at that. We ask people to look at all of their accounts. So most people look at their bank accounts or their credit card accounts. But what we find is not enough seniors look at their Medicare summary notices when they come or their explanation of benefits. And these two documents have a plethora of information about all of your medical services. And so when you look at those, you can see the location that you may have gone on a specific day, the day that you went, the doctors you saw, the services that you had. And when you look at these documents, you can also figure out things that don't look familiar to you, which are the things that you want to be looking for. When I first started in this job about 2 years ago, I had a call. It was in the middle of July from a young woman who had gone to the pharmacy, as she did every month. She paid about $48 for her prescriptions. This particular month she went, they charged her $200. So she asked the pharmacist what happened, why was she being charged so much? And he said, apparently you use up all your benefits, you've fallen into what they call a coverage gap, or a donut hole, as some people might have remember it. And so she came back home. She felt like that should not have happened because she signed up for insurance before. This was never an issue before. When she started looking at her Medicare summary notice, which she had not looked at all year, she could see starting in January, someone in Louisiana had been using her card to get narcotics. And every month that they got away with it, the next month they got more and they got more and they got more, until the point where they had used up all of her benefits. She called us. We were able to open a case for her. But in this particular instance, she had to continue paying the $200 a month until they figured out everything that was going on and make sure that she was not part of the scam. And so while they probably made her whole at the end, the issue was, for her, $48 a month is what she had budgeted for the rest of the year. Now she's got to come up out of her pocket with an extra $150 each month to continue paying this until the scam gets figured out. When, as she looked at these documents when she had first received them, she could have called us. We could have shut down that particular Medicare number, gotten her a new number, and she could have avoided all of this in the process. And so we say, folks, you definitely want to look at those things when they arrive. And again, in addition to those statements, you also want to look at your credit reports. There are 3 credit agencies that are out there. They're each required to give you 1 free credit report each year. We say go to 1 at the beginning of the year, 1 in the middle, and 1 at the end, and you can monitor your credit all year long for free. So looking at bank statements, credit card statements, Medicare summary notices, explanation of benefits, and your credit reports. And what you're looking for are going to be charges you didn't make. You're also going to be looking for services that you did not receive or don't look familiar. You're going to look at for merchants or providers or facilities that you don't recognize, and then also any accounts that you may not have opened. And if you see something, you want to report those things. When we talk about reporting, and this is specifically around reporting healthcare issues, healthcare scams, what we tell seniors is when you feel like you have an issue, it's okay to call your doctor's office and ask questions or call their billing department. Most of the phone calls we receive are seniors that have gotten a bill or have gotten a Medicare summary notice or an explanation of benefits, and there's something on there they don't understand, they're not sure about. That's probably about 70% of our calls. And what we do is we go through this process. We'll call the doctor's office, we'll call the billing department, we'll call the insurer, or you can just call us. Our 800 number, like I said, is going to be on that bag and everything in the bag. And when you call us, basically what we do is we just collect information from you, find out what your concerns are. And then we offer help. We can offer help in one of 3 ways. We can just give you instructions about what to do. So we can say, here's who you need to call, here's what you need to say, this is the answer that you should be looking for. Sometimes seniors will say, well, can you make the call with me? Yes, we'll get on the phone and we'll do 3-way calling. And we'll get on the conversation with the doctor's office or whoever might be involved. And we'll have 2 sets of ears listening to what they say to try to get the problem resolved. Some seniors will say, I don't have the energy to do any of that. Do you mind making the calls for us? We will definitely do that. So we'll get an authorization from you, and then we'll call all the people that need to be called, get back with you and say, okay, here's what needs to happen next, and take you through the process so that we can get to a resolution. Sometimes it's more difficult than people in my office can handle. And so we have actually investigators inside of Medicare that are not available to the general public. And so if it's a case that's a little bit more difficult, we send it off to them. They'll do investigations, and they may get back with us directly, or they may get back with you directly, but they'll work to get that issue resolved. When we feel like there's actual scam happening, then we forward those cases to the Office of the Inspector General, which is law enforcement at the federal level, and they can look at the cases and start to investigate as well. A lot of times, some of the scams that we're dealing with all around the country, and we're trying to find folks that may be perpetrating this from one central location that's really affecting all the country. And so that information that we receive, we put into that national database, and again, that allows them to look for patterns and look for duplicity of things happening over and over again from different individuals as well as different organizations. And with that, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Yes, ma'am.
This isn't a question, but I had a landline phone for ages. Well, the reason I got rid of it in this year is because I would get like 25 of those calls that you just talked about, and I was ignorant. I would answer everything.
Yeah, that, and again,
Now that I have
a cell phone,
just a cell phone,
no calls.
I have not gotten one.
I used to get like 7 or 8 calls a day, and it's taken some time. It's taken like 2 years. I don't get any of those calls anymore. I may get 1 or 2 a week, but I used to get plenty of them every day, and sometimes I would answer them, and when I stopped answering them, like I said, over the last couple years, I probably, like I said, maybe one, maybe two a week, but rarely do I get those calls anymore.
About information I shouldn't.
It could be, or they could have stolen it. Yes, ma'am. Medicare, we deal with some Medicaid depending on what it is. And then also if there's pharmacy issues going on, we work with those as well.
Well, we finally got it settled.
Mm-hmm.
But it took us a while.
Yeah. And then sometimes we get phone calls and we act as a triage. So we don't want you to make 17 phone calls trying to get to the right place. If we can get you to the right place the first time, then we'll gladly take those calls as well.
Yeah, because they would automatically put my prescriptions out when I did order them, and when my doctor went to put a prescription in, they denied it.
Oh, you said it declined?
They denied it.
Oh, denied it, yes. Yeah.
I mean, we got it settled now, but it took us a while.
But that would be something that we could certainly help with. Yes, sir.
I had a call one time, said, I want some money, send in a fee.
Are completely free. We're never going to send you a bill. You've already paid for it because it comes out of our tax money because it's sponsored by Health and Human Services. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Just another comment cautioning people against ever hitting one when they get those auto robocalls.
Okay.
Where you don't get a live person, but it says if you want more information or if you think you don't want to get any more of these calls, hit one. One goes, you can tell them what happens when you hit one.
Actually, I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, one, it's just like answering the phone, you're in their system. It's like saying, oh, I want to call back. It does
Gotcha.
not take you off. It only does, it could be even charging you for long distance calls on the other side of the world, which could add up to thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Okay. I did not realize that. She was saying that if you answer the phone and they ask you to press 1 or press any numbers, it's probably not good to do that because because they're scammers, they're not going to be honest with you. And they say pressing 1 might get you off our list, but she's saying that it could cost you money or put you on other lists. I think we need to. All righty. Question number 1. When I receive an unsolicited phone call, I should A, answer the call and fully cooperate with the caller. B, answer the call, harass them if it's a scammer. C, answer the call and hang up if it's a scammer. D, ignore the call. D, ignore the call. All righty. Second question, if a caller offers me free medical services devices that they say my insurance will cover, I should A, gladly accept any offer and be grateful. Only accept the offer if I really need it. Accept the offer only after I've done my personal research. Okay, or refuse the offer and consult my physician? The answer is D. All right, the last one's a tricky one. If I get a call and the caller ID and the person on the phone say they're from Medicare, I should get my card and be ready to cooperate? Cooperate only if they already have my personal information? Hang up and call back on a trusted Medicare number? Or hang up? So the correct answer is D, and the reason the correct answer is D is because Medicare is never going to call you. So you don't have to call back on a trusted number because Medicare is not going to call. All right? All right. Do you mind if I borrow your bag for a second?